All right, so today we're going to be talking about um, multiplying and simplifying polynomials, factoring, solving for x, and all that good stuff. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to multiply some binomials, and you might know this as factoring, foiling, or box method. Now I'm going to show you how to do this using the box method. In this particular situation, we might FOIL. I don't know if you guys know that. That's first, outer, inner, last. Okay, so the first thing we do is we do the first parts. X times x, okay? X times x gives me x squared. So that's first. Okay, then we're going to do the outer part. Okay, and the outer part is going to be x times 5. Okay, so x times 5. And that should be a plus because we're adding those two because it's both positive. So these are my outer parts. X plus 5, x times 5. X times 5 is 5x. Okay, now that's the outer. Now we're going to do the inner parts. That's going to be 5 times x. So plus 5 times x. And that's the inner part. Okay. 5 times x is also a positive 5x. And then we do our last piece, and our last piece is going to be the 5 times 5. Those are the last items of multiplying the binomials. So plus 5 times 5, and we get plus 25 because that's what 5 times 5 is. Now, this is not the complete answer. You have to simplify it a little bit more. So I have to combine my like terms, 5x plus 5x, and that gives me a final answer of x squared plus 10x plus 25. Okay, so that's how you multiply and simplify each polynomial. Okay, on number two, we have um, a different set. Now we're just dealing with variables, still the same process. A times a gives me a squared. A times negative b gives me a minus ab. Okay, so that's first outer. Then we're going to do inner. B times a gives me a positive ab, and we're doing it ab, not ba, because we want to label it alphabetically. Okay. And then last but not least, we have positive b times negative b, which gives me a negative b squared. Again, we're going to combine our like terms. These two are like terms. And what happens is they end up canceling each other out. That's like saying negative 2 plus 2, right? Cancels it out. So what I'm left with is a squared minus b squared, which you might talk about this in Algebra 2. This is called difference of squares. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at number three. Now, this is factoring. So we're going to go backwards. Basically, we have this answer, and we're going to try to go back to this answer. That's what we're doing here. You probably did this in algebra. You've probably seen it, what we call the X method. In order to do this, you need to know what A is, what B is, and what C is. Okay, A is your leading coefficient here in front of the X squared. B is your coefficient in front of x, and C is always going to be your constant. So, with that being said, A is equal to 3, B is equal to 8, and C is equal to a negative 3. Okay. Now, in this particular situation, when we do our x method, okay, our factors, and this is the way I do it. Your teachers might do it a little bit differently. I'm going to do 3 times negative 3. Okay, so it's A times C. 3 times negative 3 gives me negative 9. That's my 9. That's what I'm going to start off with. I'm going to have to find the factor. So, in other words, I'm going to have to find the multiples that multiply to equal negative 9. But they also have to equal B, which in this case is 8. So, we're talking about negative 9. We have negative 1 and positive 9, positive 1 and negative 9, 3 and negative 3. So, those are all of its factors of negative 9. Now, which one of these adds up to a positive 8? That equals positive 8. So we're good there. This one equals negative 8. So that's no good. And this one equals, guess what? 0. Okay, so these are the factors we're going to use. Negative 1 and a positive 9. Now, we're not quite done yet. What you need to do with these two factors is you're going to divide it by the a factor, which in this case is 3. Okay. Now, looking at these fractions, we look at if we can reduce. In this situation, we cannot reduce negative one third. So, what I like to say, and some other teachers might say differently, but this is me particularly, I say kick out the 3. So, I'm going to write this as a binomial where I put that 3 in front of the x, and that makes this 3x. And since that's a minus 1, that's going to be minus 1. So, there's my first binomial. Okay. My next binomial, well, I need to reduce this 9 over 3. Guess what? That reduces nicely to just a positive 3. So when I make this one a binomial, it's just going to be x plus 3. Pretty simple. Now, these are your two factors, right? You factored out that binomial. Okay. The best way for you to check your answers again is to multiply and see if you got that. Okay. Uh, Same process here. I'm not going to really go through this a little bit. A is 1, B is negative 10, and C is a positive 25, just in case you needed to know that. Now, that's factoring, okay? Solving for x, really, this one's nice. You just got to get your variables on both sides, or on one side, okay? If your variables should cancel out and you're still left with numbers, chances are you're going to run into a no solution. So I'm going to do a couple of these problems just to kind of get you squared away. Okay, number 5. Notice how I have my x's on both sides. What I like to do is I like to draw a little line. Lets me keep my equations balanced. First, I look for anything that I need to distribute or anything I need to multiply or divide or any of that stuff. Here I have x plus 10. So there's nothing for me to distribute. Here I have 2x plus 20. So nothing to distribute, right? Nothing to do with that. So the next thing I'm going to do is get my x's on one side. Now, me personally, I like to move the lower x, the less amount of x's, right? So on the left side, I have x, and on the right side, I have 2x. So the smaller x is this x. So I need to move this x over to the other side. The only way for me to do that is to subtract x. X minus x is 0. Okay, so I get 0 plus 10, which just gives me 10. Now, what I do to one side of the equation, I also have to do the other side. 2x minus x gives me x, and then I can bring down this plus 20. Okay, so really what I have here is 10 equals x plus 20. Subtract 20 to both sides, and we're going to get x equals negative 10. Okay, and there's my solution. Okay. Now I want to do some that are going to be a fraction. So I'm going to go ahead and deal with, I'm going to look at number 8 because I'm going to use this as a different perspective. I don't like fractions so much. I mean, I like them because they're 100% precise. One third is great. It's not 0.33. 0.33 is in fact not even one third. So one third is more 100% more accurate. So I'm going to show you how to get rid of this one third here. Okay. Some of you guys that don't like fractions. Okay. The best thing for me to do is to multiply this whole entire thing by the reciprocal of that one third so that I can get rid of the fraction. And the reciprocal of one third is 3. So I'm going to multiply everything times 3. Again, this was number 8. That's just the practice. That's not part of the equation. So multiply everything times 3, and that gets rid of my fraction. Okay, again, this is just, I'm multiplying the whole entire thing. So 3 times one third, x, is just simply x. 3 times 8 is 24. Okay, so when I multiply this side times 3, I'm going to get x plus 24. But now I got to multiply the other side times 3 so that my equation stays balanced. Okay, so 3 times 4x is a 12x. 3 times negative 5 is a negative 15. Okay, now it looks simple. Now all my variables, or sorry, my uh, fractions are gone, right? Okay, so in this situation, I'm going to go ahead and move my x's over. I don't need to distribute or anything like that. So minus x to both sides. This cancels because that's 0x. That gives me 24 is equal to 12x minus x is 11x. Bring down the minus 15. Okay, then we can add 15 to both sides to get rid of this 15. Add 15 to both sides. Okay, that's going to leave me, and I'm going to bring this over here to have some more space. 39, right? I believe 24 plus 15 is 39 is equal to 11x. Divide both sides by 11, and I'm going to get x equals 39 over 11. And that's a-okay. I'm okay to have fractions. Okay. If you need to, always go back and substitute to see if you get the correct answer. Okay. Now I'm going to do two more problems, word problems, and there's going to be some keywords that you want to look for. Okay, so let's look at these word problems. Okay, this next one, it says three more than a number. So three being the number three, more than means I'm going to add it to something. So I'm adding this to something. So that means this is actually the back part. And whatever this is the front part. So three more than a number. So this because it says a number, that's like a variable. So let's go ahead and use the number in. So really what happens is because of that more than, because the then, it flips everything away. So this side of the equation is actually n plus 3. And that's important, especially when it comes to subtraction. Not so much when it comes to addition because it has an associative property. We'll talk about that some other time. Okay. Now it says is the same as. Is the same as. That's like saying equals. Okay. Now the next thing, same as 2 minus that number. So 2 minus that number. Now notice it's not minus than or less than, so there's no need to switch. So 2 minus that number. So 2 minus n. All right, so there's my equation. I've set it up using these words. So we got n plus 3 equals 2 minus n. Solving for variables, you know how to do that. Get your n's on one side. So I'm going to add this in, add this in. 2n plus 3 equals 2 minus 3 minus 3. 2n equals negative 1. Divide both sides by 2, and n equals negative 1 half. Okay, again, fractions are okay, guys. Don't get too scared. Let's see. Let's do one more. Okay. Now, again, this is where the then part comes in. This says 5 less than a number is twice that number. So the less than is going to flip it. So this 5, just like the top one here, is going to go to the back, and the number is going to go to the front. So let's use x to represent numbers, just a variable. So really, this is saying x minus 5 is, that is part means equal twice that number. So 2x. Okay, pretty simple, pretty easy. Get my x's on one side, subtract x to both sides. We get negative 5 is equal to x. And that's how you solve those types of problems, guys. Okay? All righty.